Let me take a moment and talk about Riverside.fm. It allows you to record studio quality audio and up to 4K video. When you need to record audio and video, Riverside.fm can do it. So if you're looking for a hero platform for all your recording needs, from podcasts to webinars to any video content, Riverside.fm. I've got a promo code for you where you'll receive a 30% discount on the first 3 months of your subscription. I'll give it to you twice. The promo code is SHIPIT. All one word, SHIPIT, and you'll pick up a 30% discount on your first 3 months of your subscription. Riverside.fm.
Get ready for another Best of the Pigskin Dispatch, because in this football history headlines for January 1st, we discuss the greatest bowl games of New Year's Day ever played and how they got started, and the most significant ones played on January 1st, as what it did for the game of football, as well as many more Hall of Fame legendary stories and birthdays coming up in a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Happy New Year, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of pigskindispatch.com, your portal to positive football history. And you know the old saying that says, in with the new and out with the old? Well, we're in with the new, and we're all about new football. But we're not going to get rid of our old stuff, because the history is what makes us where we are today. So we are going to celebrate the old. So in with the new and celebrate the old, I guess, is the best thing to say here at Pigskin Dispatch, because we have some great bowl games we're going to talk about. In particular, some very interesting Rose Bowl games and how they all got started so many years ago. So take a minute here and just sit back and enjoy the great football history of January 1st on this Best of the Pigskin Dispatch celebration. And we'll start off on our football history headlines for January 1st in the year 1902, talking about the big game, and it was played at Tournament Park in Pasadena, California. It was the first bowl game that was ever played in that 1902 season, first one ever, and it was the only thing going on that year. According to the NCAA.com article, it started out as a centerpiece to the Tournament of Roses, a yearly festival put on by the Valley Hunt Club that began in 1890. Before the advent of the football game, the parade staged events like tugs of war, polo matches, and even grease pig catching. The name of the game was changed to the Rose Bowl game starting in the 1923 Rose Bowl, when it moved to the newly constructed Rose Bowl Stadium. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's talk about this first game. In this first contest, it was the Michigan Wolverines that blew out the Stanford Cardinal 49-0. Michigan only had 12 points scored on it all season long, including this game. They were a powerhouse then. Let's skip ahead to January 1st, 1919. The fifth Rose Bowl game was played, and the Great Lakes U.S. Navy beat Mare Island of the U.S. Marine Corps 17-0 per the HonestDay.com website. The big highlight of this game was the game's most valuable player was a U.S. naval player named George Halas. January 1st, 1926. We spoke about this a little bit ago. Tournament Park is no longer the venue. It's now at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. And it's the first game officially called the Rose Bowl when it entered in the new stadium with a venue of the same name. Remember that the Rose Bowl was the only bowl game back in this era, and it was a big deal when Alabama got the invite for this year. And in fact, they were the first Southern team to play in the Rose Bowl. The University of Washington was their opponent, and they were a powerhouse, as they were led by their star halfback, George Wildcat Wilson. Love that name. In the game, it was Wilson's dominant performance for much of the first half and the granddaddy of them all. He had his opponent, Alabama, on their heels, and they were down by a couple scores. The Crimson Tide finally got a break late in the second quarter when George Wilson left the game due to injury. It was right there at that moment when the Tide rolled, led by Johnny Mac Brown with 20 unanswered points, and they were driving down the field to score again when a banged-up Wildcat Wilson re-entered the contest, and it was a significant time because they stalled the Alabama drive at the Husky 12-yard line. Wilson then guided the Washington offense down the field and capped off the drive with Wilson throwing a 20-yard scoring strike to John Cole. It was not enough, though, as the Tide held on to win the game 20-19. The stat line on the game showed that with Wilson on the field, the Washington Huskies gained 317 yards and put up 19 points. When he was out, they mustered a mere 17 yards and were shut out, while the Crimson Tide scored all 20 of their points in that 22-minute absence of Wilson from the contest. He was a real difference maker in the game. It really put Alabama on the football map, though, as a prominent football power in college football landscape, and it helped the South gain some ground in the football world. As the game stood as the upstart Alabama defeated Washington 2019, the game is often referred to as the game that changed the South, and many Gridiron history experts recognize it as the most important game in Southern football history. We told you just a second ago that the Rose Bowl was the only bowl game during the holiday seasons for college football, but it got some company on January 1st, 1935. That's when the first Sugar Bowl was played, and in that game, Tulane beat Temple 20-14. That same day, same year, 1935, the first Orange Bowl occurred as Bucknell defeated Miami of Florida 26-0. So it got some company. We had a couple of the more famous bowls came in about 23 years after the initial, what we will call the first Rose Bowl. Now, we've talked about this Rose Bowl quite a bit, happening in Pasadena, California. And that's still where we think of it today, Pasadena, California, and Southern Cal. But have you ever believed that the Rose Bowl once was played on the East Coast? Well, that's what happened, and we'll tell you a story here. January 1st, 1942, Durham, South Carolina. The Rose Bowl was played on the East Coast once. Oregon State surprised everyone as they won the Pacific Coast Conference Championship. The GoldenRankings.com website has all the details on how the Beavers won their final 5 games to earn their first trip to the Rose Bowl. And as it was custom at the time, the Pacific Coast champion picked its opponent for the game in Pasadena. The Golden Gophers of Minnesota were the logical choice as they were tops in the polls, but they were prohibited from playing in a bowl game by the predecessor of the Big Ten, the Western Conference rules at the time. So, Oregon State chose the next best team, Duke, who was the second in most of the rankings, and many fans from Duke booked their travel plans as they got the sweet deal of a round-trip train fare, accommodations in California, tickets to the game, and they were even going to get a free stop at the Grand Canyon, all for about $182 a piece. Hey, sign me up for that one. However, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, and a day after that it launched the U.S. into World War II. It was only 3 weeks before the big game. So not even a week later, after that December 7th, on December 13th, fearing Japanese attacks on the West Coast, the military leaders of the U.S. shut down all major sporting events, including the Rose Bowl. When the Duke and Oregon State teams and the Rose Bowl committee got their heads together, they decided the game must go on, and they switched the venue to Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham, North Carolina, the home of Duke. This was the only Rose Bowl game ever played outside of Pasadena. And the game itself, it was a pretty good one too. But we'll let the Golden Rankings fill you in on that part. We're just going to tell you the final score was Oregon State in an upset, 20-16 over the Blue Devils. January 1st, 1952, the war is over. We're going back to Pasadena, California. This edition of the Rose Bowl game was the first nationally televised college football game. In the game, Illinois destroyed Stanford by the score of 40-7. January 1st, 1962, Pasadena, California. There was another first for the granddaddy of them all, and it was the first nationally televised college football game that was broadcast in color television. Minnesota outlasted UCLA 21-3 in this milestone broadcast. Wow, can you imagine that until this day, some Pigskin fan on the East Coast may have never seen the Bruin Blue before? The very next year, January 1st, 1963, again in Pasadena, for the first time in history, a game to determine the top team in the nation was scheduled based on the AP and UPI poll, as the top teams ranked would do battle. What a billing for the Rose Bowl. The top ranked teams of the Trojans of Southern Cal and the number 2 Wisconsin Badgers were going to mix it up on the Rose Bowl turf for the top spot. According to the American Football Database, it was USC that would end up being the victors in this high-scoring affair, 42-37 over the Badgers. Wisconsin came into the game at the end with 23 unanswered fourth-quarter points to make it a nail-biter at the end. Now let's take a quick break from our headlines, and let me remind you can learn more about Gridiron history on our website, pigskindispatch.com. And you can contact me, Darren Hayes, at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Speaking of hearing from someone who's here is one of my podcasting partners from the sportshistorynetwork.com that has a message just for you.
Hello, sports fans. My name is Mark Mortier, and my show is called Yesterday Sports. My show mainly focuses on old school sports from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. I'm a member of the Pro Football Researchers Association and a sports historian. I have a podcast every other Tuesday, so come join us at the Sports History Network for a trip down memory lane.
January 1st, 2005, Tempe, Arizona. At the Fiesta Bowl, Utah became the first non-BCS conference team to appear in and also win a Bowl Championship Series bowl game by blowing out Big East champion Pittsburgh 35-7. According to the UtahUse.com, the performance of Utah's quarterback Alex Smith, heard of him before, propelled him to becoming the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2005 NFL Draft. The Utes would eventually become a member of the Pac-12 Conference in year 2012. We know there's a lot of bowl games. Some years, like last year, I think we had 30-some of bowl games played in the college holiday season, and we didn't cover all of them. We'd be here for days just talking about that, but we wanted to make sure we covered the significant bowl games that had some historic impact on the game of football, and hopefully we covered that. We'll add more. Let us know if we missed any. Pigskindispatch.com or pigskindispatch@gmail.com on the email to let us know all about it. Well, hold your horses there. We're not done with this podcast yet because we still have our Hall of Fame birthdays, and these are going to be New Year's babies we're going to talk of that made the Football Hall of Fame, either the Pro or the College Football Hall of Fame. And we're going to start off in the 19th century. In 1890 on January 1st, Wellesley, Massachusetts, Vince Pat Pizzetti, who played quarterback for both Wesleyan and Lehigh Universities, was born. According to his bio on the NFF website, Pat played at Wesleyan University as a standout during the football seasons of 1908 and 1909, before transferring to Lehigh for junior and senior campaigns in 1911 and 1912. After the 1912 season, Pizzetti earned All-American accolades in the same backfield with the legendary Jim Thorpe. The National Football Foundation select Vince Pizzetti to enter into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1961. January 1st, 1901, in Allegheny, Pennsylvania, the great Wabash College and Yale University standout tackle Century Milstead entered into this life. The footballfoundation.org website states that generally linemen are the unsung heroes of football most of the time, going unnoticed in games. That's not the description they give for our man Century, though. As a member of the Wabash Little Giants, Milstead helped the team upset much larger teams like Purdue, Georgetown, and Butler in convincing fashions. He entered and transferred into Yale in 1922, but had to sit out a season to solidify his eligibility, and the sit-out was worth the wait. In 1923, Milstead played a key role in a perfect Eli campaign, which brought him to All-American recognition. After graduation, he coached at Yale and played pro ball for the New York Giants, became a sales executive, served as president of the Touchdown Club of New York, as well as the Lambert Trophy Board he served on. Century Milstead found his way into the College Football Hall of Fame in the year 1977. January 1st, 1927, Dallas, Texas. Doak Walker, the highly decorated Southern Methodist University halfback, was born. The NFF site states that Doak was a 3-time All-American halfback for SMU. He won the Maxwell Award in 1947, won the Heisman Award in 1948, and was named Player of the Year by Collier's Magazine in 1949. Doak Walker found the doors to be wide open to welcome him at the College Football Hall of Fame in 1959. Doak, after college, joined the Detroit Lions and spent 6 productive seasons with the franchise. In fact, according to the ProFootballHOF.com website, he did almost everything for the Lions as he passed, ran, returned punts and kicks, but he also performed the punting and placed kicks for the team as well. Walker was selected as an All-NFL in 5 of his 6 seasons played in the league. Doak Walker was enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the year 1986. January 1st, 1932, Knoxville, Tennessee. Standout Mississippi quarterback Jackie Parker was born. The NFF states the value of Parker to his team in one game at rival Auburn. Their quarterback Jackie Parker single-handedly wrenched Auburn. State ran up 49 points in the first 3 periods, with Parker having a hand in 42 of them on touchdown runs of 6, 11, and 34 yards, and passes of 9, 11, and 27 yards, and he kicked all 6 extra points. With victory well in hand, Parker watched the final quarter from the sidelines. What a stat line for only playing 75% of the game. During his first 2 seasons at MSU, Parker was an All-Conference and All-American. Following his collegiate career, Jackie Parker found his way into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1976. After school was over, Parker played 14 seasons in the Canadian Football League and was the CFL's most valuable player 3 times and an All-Pro 9 times, retiring as an active player. Parker became the general manager of the CFL's BC Lions. January 1st, 1940, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Mike McKeever, the fine guard from USC, came into this world. The footballfoundation.org website states that Mike earned All-America honors, and he was also chosen to the academic All-American team. Mike and his brother Marlon were the first twins to earn All-America status. McKeever suffered a head injury in his senior year at USC, and it ended his collegiate football career. Prior to the injury, he was high on the NFL draft list, but the head wound prevented him from having to show what he could do at the pro level. He was inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1987. January 1st, 1962, Marlin, Texas. Pierce Holt, the Angelo State defensive end, was born. Pierce started all 4 seasons at Angelo and was a 2-time All-American selection. And when it came to scholastic honors, he was a 2-time academic All-Conference, among other awards for his academics. Pierce was inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1997 by the National Football Foundation voters. January 1st, 1967, Miami, Florida. The outstanding linebacker from the University of Alabama, Derek Thomas, arrived into this world. The Football Foundation website reveals how Thomas was one of the greatest linebackers in Tide history. Derek Thomas concluded his career as the NCAA FBS leader in career sacks with 52, en route to winning unanimous All-America honors in 1988. Derek Thomas was welcomed into the College Football Hall of Fame in the year 2014. At the 1989 NFL Draft, Derek became the 4th overall pick by the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a productive 11-year career with the franchise, where he registered 126.5 career sacks, 20 of them coming in one season. He made the All-NFL team 3 times and played in 9 Pro Bowls. The Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrined Derek Thomas in 2009. Now, to make sure you don't miss another edition of this podcast, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on your podcast player and make sure you visit pigskindispatch.com and you'll see the daily podcast pop up there on our Football History Headlines series. And you can also go to the sportshistorynetwork.com where you'll see this podcast and right now 12 other podcasts, and it's growing every day. And as a matter of fact, if you're interested in sports history and you want to join the sportshistorynetwork.com with your own podcast, blog, or any other contribution to sports history, then make sure you look at the contact page on sportshistorynetwork.com and get a hold of Arnie Chapman, and he'll get you hooked up to join the team. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so it
retro
was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.
Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandom at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.